I'm going to be late.
That's gorgeous. I know there'll be a lot more of you later. Vice Curiosity, not just now, please. Yes, just a little more.
In 2005, a squat little dog pattered onto our cinema screens. The star of the film The Magic Roundabout. But this new digital incarnation was not the first for the Magic Roundabout, which had been set spinning long before through the use of a technique as old as cinema itself, puppet animation.
Animation involves the character moving frame by frame. I make one move, I take a frame. Another move, I take another frame. And so on, for 24 frames per second. Here I'm going a bit faster, but usually I take my time.
Normalement, je prends tout mon temps. Toc, 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 toc.
Using this rudimentary technique, Dougal, known in France as Pollux, was created and became a star of 1960s TV screens. Since then, the 500 episodes of The Magic Roundabout have travelled the globe and are an integral part of the history of film animation.
Do you know him?
I don't know. I know him only too well. What this? You're talking about my childhood hero here.
Peter Lord, founder of the Aardman Studio and co-director of the film Chicken Run, cites three major influences on his work: special effects creator Ray Harryhausen, Terry Gilliam, and The Magic Roundabout.
And it's quite hard, maybe, to conjure up what a big deal that was in Britain at the time. It was a huge... It was a social event. We've lost that now with modern multi-channel TV. We don't get this thing. But when in England then you only had, I guess, 3 stations or even 2 stations, you knew that everyone in the country was watching TV at the same time for certain things. And one of those things might be a big comedy show or the news. And another one, strangely enough, was this French animated series. And it was on children's television, but significantly, it was just before the national news. So when that time in the day where in those simple days, children stopped watching and adults started watching. So it was just positioned in exactly the right place. And millions and millions of people watch it. It had a huge audience.
Appearances can be deceptive. This is no longer England, but France, near Nantes. It was here that most episodes of The Magic Roundabout were filmed, and where memorabilia from that time have been carefully preserved.
The Magic Roundabout has been seen in almost every country. Iran, Iraq, Japan, Spain, Portugal, all over. There were about 28 languages. It was translated into more than 28 languages. Of course, it was in England that it really took off. There, they saw it as their baby. When Serge died and the media wrote about this Frenchman who had created Dougal, they didn't want to believe it. No one wanted to believe it. As far as they were concerned, it was their baby. But no, the creator was a Frenchman.
Serge Danot was born in 1931 and grew up near Nantes. At 17, he left home and took on a variety of jobs, some more challenging than others. One day, he'd be making carnival costumes. The next, he'd be a diver. In 1960, he went to Paris and began working as a high-level painter on the Eiffel Tower. An accident left him with a crushed foot, and he had to spend a long time convalescing at his home in Malakoff. To escape the boredom, and with nobody else's help, he made a short animated film.
C'est un personnage.
He was quite a character. It was hard to keep up with him because he would have one idea after another. He always had to be creating, always, right up to the end. In the hospital where he died, he was creating. He had this red cord he would pull to fetch a tumbler, and then a blue cord. It was quite shambolic in the hospital, but it was unbelievable. He was always creating.
With a reel under his arm, he knocked at the door of producers Cinéaste Associés, where they offered him a job as a sweeper. He accepted and spent the next 2 years learning every aspect of the film trade. With this experience under his belt, he joined advertising agents La Comète in 1963, making animated advertisements.
Je somme un pâté pois, il va pas pousser. Mais j'en mangerai quand même des pâtés pois. Pâté. Heureusement que j'ai toujours ma provision à la maison. On a toujours besoin de pâté pois. Je sois.
It was at La Comète that he met Briton Ivor Wood, and between them the idea for the Magic Roundabout was conceived. The first episode of the series was filmed in Malakoff, in the bedroom and the kitchen. The whole Danot family was involved.
C'était un squat, vraiment, on payait pas le loyer.
It was a squat, really. We didn't pay any rent. My father tapped into the Malakoff electricity supply. I remember my brother playing with toy cars. The floor not being level. When filming they had to use wedges to prevent sliding. The Magic Roundabout was born in that house.
ORTF viewed the pilot and commissioned 13 5-minute episodes. Danot made them at home in the evenings while continuing to work for La Comète. The first ever episode of the Magic Roundabout was shown on 5th of October 1964, just before the evening news. In the 4th episode, an odd little creature appeared.
Qu'est-ce que ça peut bien être? Voyons. Mais c'est un chien, un vrai beau chien. Oui, tu es gentil. Oh là là, que tu es gentil. Je t'appellerai Pollux. Tu veux bien?
Even though he didn't yet have his cheeky humour and English accent, Dougal was an immediate hit with the audience. Serge Danot's daughter, Patricia, played little Margot, who became Florence in the English version. And like Mehdi from the series Belle et Sébastien, she became one of the first child stars of French television. This was also the era when TV networks were beginning to understand the economic significance of young viewers.
Le succès commercial est arrivé spontanément.
Industry spontaneously created a commercial success of it.
Les fabricants de jouets.
Manufacturers of toys, fabrics, children's products in general, books and so on were fascinated by the series' impact and requested permission to reproduce the characters in all sorts of shapes and forms. We signed exclusivity contracts with all of these companies. I think that when I left in '66 there weren't far off 100. Sales were quite staggering.
Et c'était ahurissant de voir comment ça se vendait.
The commercial success was such that Dougal became the best paid dog of the 1960s. The craze was even more frenzied across the channel. The series was broadcast there as The Magic Roundabout from 1965 onwards. Pollux was rechristened Dougal after General de Gaulle, and actor Eric Thompson became the narrator.
In England, the stories weren't even the same as they were in France. I find that absolutely bizarre, because the guy who rewrote them used to watch them with the sound turned down, and if you do look at them with the sound turned down, it's very hard to understand what the hell is going on. And so he just made up his own stories, and it worked very well. Yeah. People used to read a lot into it. Absolutely, it was like it was a sport at the time.
The Magic Roundabout came to France and indeed Europe at a time of great turmoil, a time of transition. I think its success was due to the fact that it reflects this turmoil. The major change affecting France and the rest of Europe at that time was the move from a largely rural society dominated by farmers and artisans to a new society which was still taking shape and was entering homes via television.
Mais en tout cas, qui rentre dans les foyers par la télévision. C'était le guignol de la.
It was an early spitting image. There were episodes that were banned. I remember there was one called The Pom-Poms, which was banned, and my father was furious. It was the time of the Pompidou. Furious. Children didn't get the reference, but it was there.
Les enfants, ils voyaient les pompiers, mais bon, c'était pas les pompiers, quoi.
Oh, oh, oh. Avec tout cela, je ne passerai jamais à la télévision, moi. Ah bon.
During the 1980s, Japanese animation and the diversification of children's programs made the Magic Roundabout look dated, and the series gradually disappeared from French screens. But 20 years on, the Roundabout is still turning, a success on both sides of the channel. It is no surprise that the new Dougal is the product of a Franco-British collaboration. After 40 years, our doggy hero has had something of a revamp. His muzzle is digital, and his coat is sleek. But in his own way, the new 21st century Dougal is very much in keeping with his era.